Story 1. I've been working as a zookeeper at Riverside Zoo for 6 years now, ever since I finished my degree in animal science. Started out cleaning enclosures and feeding smaller animals, but worked my way up to being responsible for our primate section. It's hard work and the pay isn't amazing, but I genuinely love working with animals. Most days are pretty routine feeding schedules, cleaning, health checks, and dealing with the occasional visitor who gets too close to the barriers. The zoo gets busy on weekends, especially during summer when families are looking for activities. Most visitors are respectful and just want to see the animals, maybe take some photos. Kids get excited and sometimes yell, but that's normal. What happened last Saturday was definitely not normal. I was doing my afternoon rounds in the monkey habitat when I noticed this woman standing at the viewing area looking increasingly agitated. She had been there for about 10 minutes, and I could hear her getting louder and more demanding. The capuchin monkeys were doing their usual thing. Some were napping in the shade, others were grooming each other, and a few were playing with enrichment toys we'd given them. It was actually a pretty active day for them, but apparently not active enough for this lady. Karen, excuse me, zoo person. I walked over to the public barrier where she was standing with what looked like her husband and 2 kids. Me, can I help you with something? Karen, yes, you can. These monkeys are just sitting there doing nothing. I paid good money for admission and I expect to be entertained. Me, well, the animals have their own schedules and behaviors. Sometimes they're more active, sometimes they rest. That's natural for them. Karen, that's not acceptable. I want you to make them do something interesting. Her husband looked embarrassed and was trying to pull her away. Husband, honey, let's just go see the lions. The kids want to see the big cats anyway. Karen, no, I'm not leaving until these lazy monkeys start performing. Me, ma'am, these aren't performing animals. They're living their natural lives. We can't force them to be active for entertainment. Karen, of course you can. You're the zookeeper, that's your job. I tried to explain that our role is to care for the animals' well-being, not to make them perform tricks, but she wasn't having it. Karen, I demand you go in there and make them move around. Throw food at them or something. Me, we have specific feeding schedules that are important for their health. I can't just throw food around to make them more active. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a paying customer. Those animals work for me. At this point, other visitors were starting to stare. Her kids looked mortified, and her husband was practically begging her to leave. Karen, fine. If you won't do your job, I'll do it myself. Before anyone could react, she had climbed over the first barrier. There are usually 2 barriers at primate exhibits, a lower one that keeps people back, and then a higher, more secure one that actually protects both visitors and animals. Me, ma'am, stop right there. You cannot cross that barrier. Karen, watch me. Someone needs to teach these animals how to entertain properly. She started climbing the second, taller barrier. I immediately radioed for security and backup. Me, code red at the capuchin exhibit. Visitor breaching enclosure. Karen, I'm going to show these monkeys who's boss. They need to learn some discipline. She actually made it over the main barrier and dropped down into the enclosure. The monkeys immediately scattered, some climbing high into their structures and others running to the far side of the habitat. Karen, come here, you lazy animals. I want to see some action. She started chasing the monkeys around their own habitat, yelling at them like they were misbehaving children. Karen, you're going to entertain me whether you like it or not. I paid to see a show. Security arrived within 2 minutes, along with our emergency response team. The monkeys were clearly stressed, making alarm calls and staying as far away from her as possible. Security guard, ma'am, you need to exit that enclosure immediately. Karen, not until these animals start doing their job. It took 3 security guards and our head zookeeper to safely extract her from the habitat. She was screaming the entire time about her rights as a paying customer and how the animals were being insubordinate. Karen, this is false imprisonment. I demand those monkeys be fired for not performing. The police arrived shortly after and arrested her for trespassing, endangering wildlife and disturbing the peace. Her family was questioned, and her husband apologized profusely while their kids cried from embarrassment. We had to close the primate section for the rest of the day to let the monkeys calm down and to inspect the enclosure for any damage. The poor animals were stressed for hours after the incident. The legal consequences were serious. She was banned from the zoo permanently, fined heavily, and had to pay for the veterinary evaluation of all the primates to ensure they weren't traumatized or injured. She also had to cover the lost revenue from closing the exhibit early. The story made local news because someone had filmed the whole thing on their phone. The headline was, "Woman Invades Zoo Exhibit, Demands Animals Earn Their Keep." She became a laughingstock online, with people making memes about entitled customers who think wild animals are their personal entertainment staff. The saddest part was her family. Her husband filed for divorce 2 weeks later, citing this incident as the final straw in years of increasingly erratic and entitled behavior. He got full custody of their kids, who were reportedly too embarrassed to even tell their friends what their mother had done. We updated our security measures after this incident, but honestly, no one expected we'd need to plan for someone who thought they could discipline wild animals for not being entertaining enough. Story 2. Working the overnight shift at a convenience store wasn't my dream job, but it paid the bills while I was going to community college. I'd been doing it for about 8 months, trying to save money for my transfer to a 4-year university. The plan was to get my associate degree in business and then finish my bachelor's somewhere else. Most nights were pretty quiet. The usual mix of late shift workers grabbing coffee, college students buying snacks, and the occasional drunk person stumbling in for energy drinks. I'd learned to handle most situations. The key was staying calm and following store policy, no matter what. Our store had strict rules about alcohol sales. State law said we couldn't sell any alcoholic beverages between midnight and 7 in the morning. The register system automatically locked out alcohol purchases during those hours, so even if I wanted to break the rule, I literally couldn't ring up beer or wine. It was about 12:30 on a Friday night when she walked in. Middle-aged woman, nicely dressed, but walking a little unsteady. She went straight to the beer cooler and grabbed a 12-pack. I could tell this wasn't going to go well. She came up to my counter and slammed the beer down. "Karen, ring this up." Me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't sell alcohol after midnight. It's state law." "Karen, what do you mean you can't sell it?" Me, "Alcohol sales are prohibited between midnight and 7 a.m. I can hold it for you if you want to come back in the morning." "Karen, that's ridiculous. I'm an adult and I have money. Sell me the beer." Me, "I understand it's frustrating, but I don't have a choice. The register won't even let me ring it up during these hours." "Karen, then override it." Me, "I can't override state law, ma'am." She stared at me like I just told her the earth was flat. "Karen, do you know who I am?" Me, "No, ma'am." "Karen, I'm a county commissioner. I make the laws in this town." Me, "Even so, this is state law, not local, and my register is programmed to block alcohol sales automatically." "Karen, then unprogram it." Me, "I don't have access to do that. Only corporate can change those settings." That's when she started getting really aggressive. "Karen, you listen to me, you little punk. I've had a very long day and I need this beer. I don't care about your stupid rules." Me, "Ma'am, I really wish I could help you, but my hands are tied." "Karen, your hands are about to be more than tied if you don't sell me this beer right now." I was starting to feel uncomfortable, but I'd dealt with angry drunk people before. I figured she'd eventually give up and leave. Me, "I can call my manager if you'd like to speak with someone else." "Karen, I don't want to talk to your manager. I want you to do your job and sell me beer." Me, "My job is to follow the law. I could lose my license and the store could get shut down if I sell alcohol after midnight." She leaned across the counter, getting right in my face. "Karen, you're going to regret this attitude, kid." Me, "Ma'am, I need you to step back, please." That's when she did something I never expected in a million years. She grabbed my forearm with both hands and bit down on it like some kind of animal. I yelled and tried to pull away, but she held on for a few seconds before letting go. I could see teeth marks through my uniform sleeve and feel the skin starting to bruise. Me, did you just bite me? Karen, maybe now you'll take me seriously. I was so shocked I couldn't even respond at first. This grown woman had literally bitten me because I wouldn't sell her beer illegally. Me, you need to leave right now or I'm calling the police. Karen, call them. I'll tell them you refuse to serve a paying customer. Me, you assaulted me because I followed the law. Karen, I barely touched you. Don't be such a drama queen. I grabbed my phone and started dialing. She finally seemed to realize she'd gone too far. Karen, fine, keep your stupid beer. This place is a dump anyway. She stormed out, but not before knocking over a display of chips near the door. I called the police and my manager. The cops showed up first and took pictures of the bite mark on my arm. It wasn't deep enough to break skin, but you could clearly see where her teeth had pressed in. When they reviewed the security footage, the officer couldn't believe what he was seeing. Officer, in 15 years on the job, I've never seen an adult bite someone over beer sales. My manager arrived about 20 minutes later and was horrified. Corporate sent me to get checked out at an urgent care clinic just to be safe, even though the bite hadn't broken the skin. The woman got charged with assault and banned from all stores in our chain. Turns out she wasn't actually a county commissioner, just some drunk lady who thought throwing around fake authority would get her what she wanted. The best part was when the local news picked up the story. The headline was, "Woman Bites Store Clerk Over Beer Sale Refusal," and it made her look completely ridiculous. I kept working there until I finished my degree, but I never had anyone bite me again, though I did have a few customers joke about it when they saw the news story. Some people really think the rules don't apply to them, but biting someone over a 12-pack of beer has to be a new low. Story 3. I've been working at this Kentucky Fried Chicken location for about 6 years now, starting as a cashier when I was 17 and working my way up to shift manager. In all that time, I've dealt with every kind of customer complaint you can imagine: cold food, wrong orders, expired coupons, and people demanding refunds for meals they'd already eaten completely. Our location is in a busy shopping plaza, so we get a mix of regular customers and random people passing through. Most complaints are pretty standard stuff that we can handle with store policy. Free replacement meals, small refunds, maybe a coupon for their next visit. Nothing too crazy. That all changed last Tuesday around lunch rush. I was helping train a new employee on the register when I heard some kind of commotion in the parking lot. People were honking their horns and someone was yelling, but I figured it was just road rage or something. We get that sometimes when traffic backs up from the drive-thru. Then the front door burst open and a woman in her 40s came marching and carrying a large pet carrier. She looked absolutely furious and was muttering something under her breath. Right behind her was a man who appeared to be her husband, carrying another pet carrier and looking completely embarrassed. I walked over to help them since they seemed upset about something. Me, hi there, how can I help you today? Customer, I demand to speak to your manager right now. Me, I am the manager on duty. What seems to be the problem? She slammed her pet carrier down on the counter, and I could hear something moving around inside it. Customer, this is free-range refund day. I'm here to return your terrible chicken and get fresh ones cooked. Me, I'm sorry, but I don't understand. What do you mean by free-range refund day? Customer, I bought chicken here last week and it was disgusting. So I went out and bought my own free-range chickens, and now you're going to cook them for me fresh. That's when I realized what was in the pet carriers. There were live chickens inside them, clucking and moving around. Me, ma'am, I can't accept live animals in our restaurant. This is a health code violation. Customer, don't give me that nonsense. These are better quality chickens than what you serve here. I demand fresh preparation. Her husband finally spoke up. Husband, honey, maybe we should just go home and discuss this. Customer, no, I've driven all the way here with these chickens, and they're going to cook them properly. She actually opened one of the carriers right there in the dining area. A live chicken came out and started walking around on our floor. Me, ma'am, you need to contain that chicken immediately. We cannot have live animals loose in the restaurant. Customer, this chicken is free-range and organic. It's better than anything you have here. Other customers were starting to back away and take out their phones. A couple with small kids got up and left their food on the table. Me, I understand you're unhappy with your previous order, but bringing live chickens into the restaurant is not acceptable. I need you to put the chicken back in the carrier. Customer, I'm not leaving until you cook my chickens. This is customer service. The chicken was now wandering toward the kitchen area. I had to step around it to block its path. Me, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Live animals are not allowed in food service establishments. Customer, these aren't animals, they're ingredients. I'm providing better quality ingredients than you use. She opened the second carrier, and another chicken joined the first one. Now there were 2 live chickens walking around our dining room. Customer, see? Free-range chickens. Now cook them fresh for me. Me, that's it. I'm calling the police and the health department. Customer, you can't call anyone. I'm a paying customer. I went to the back office and called the police while keeping an eye on the situation. The chickens were now exploring the entire front area of the restaurant, and other customers were either leaving or recording everything with their phones. When the police arrived 10 minutes later, she was chasing one of the chickens around trying to catch it while yelling at me about customer service policies. Officer, ma'am, what exactly is going on here? Customer, this manager is refusing to cook my free-range chickens. It's discrimination against quality ingredients. Officer, you brought live chickens into a restaurant? Customer, it's free-range refund day. I have every right to demand fresh preparation. The officer looked at me. Officer, is there actually such a thing as free-range refund day? Me, no sir. She made that up. She brought live chickens into our restaurant and released them in the dining area. It took both officers and animal control to round up the chickens and get them back into the carriers. The woman was cited for bringing livestock into a food establishment and disturbing the peace. The health department showed up an hour later, and we had to close for the rest of the day for deep cleaning and inspection. The best part came the next week when corporate called. Apparently, someone had posted a video of the whole incident online, and it went viral with a hashtag #FreeRangeRefnDay. Corporate was actually pretty understanding and gave our staff bonuses for handling such an unusual situation professionally. We passed inspection with flying colors and reopened the next day. Now we have a sign by the door that says, "No live animals allowed," right next to the "No shoes, no shirt, no service" sign. Story 4. I've lived on Willow Creek Lane for almost 10 years now. It's a quiet residential street with about 20 houses, mostly young families and older couples who've been here for decades. We all know each other reasonably well. We wave when we see each other, help with packages when someone's out of town, and generally respect each other's space. It's the kind of neighborhood where people look out for one another without being intrusive. My house sits right in the middle of the street, which gives me a pretty good view of most of the neighborhood activity. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, so I'm around during the day and evening more than most of my neighbors who commute to office jobs. About 6 months ago, this woman moved into the house 3 doors down from me. She seemed normal enough at first, middle-aged, drove a sensible sedan, kept her lawn maintained. The previous owners had been an elderly couple who were incredibly quiet, so we figured anyone would be a bit more active than them. The first sign something was off came about 2 weeks after she moved in. She knocked on my door around 7 in the evening, introduced herself as my new neighbor, and then launched into this detailed explanation of her daily routine. "Karen, I want you to know I'm an early sleeper. I go to bed at 9 o'clock sharp every night and wake up at 4:30 in the morning. That's the optimal sleep schedule for maximum productivity. Me, okay? That's good to know. I'm usually pretty quiet in the evenings anyway. Karen, I also want to let you know that late night noise really disrupts my sleep cycle. Even small sounds can throw off my entire routine. I assured her I'd be considerate about noise levels, which I thought was the end of it. But over the next few weeks, she visited almost every house on the street with the same speech about her sleep schedule. The problem started about a month later. My neighbor directly across from me has 2 teenage kids who sometimes hang out in their backyard during summer evenings. They're not loud or disruptive, just normal teenagers talking and laughing occasionally. One evening around 8:30, I heard shouting outside. I looked out my window and saw Karen in her pajamas, standing at the edge of her neighbor's property, yelling at the teenagers. "Karen, it's past 8 o'clock. You need to go inside immediately. Some people have proper sleep schedules to maintain." The kids looked confused but went inside anyway. Their mom came out to see what was happening. "Neighbor, is there a problem?" The kids weren't being loud. "Karen, any noise after 8 o'clock disrupts my sleep preparation routine. I need complete quiet from 8 until 5 in the morning." That's when I realized we might have a bigger issue on our hands. Over the following weeks, she complained about everything: lawn mowers after 7 in the evening, people coming home from work and closing car doors, even someone walking their dog and having a brief phone conversation. She started leaving notes in mailboxes explaining her optimal neighborhood sleep schedule and suggesting that everyone adjust their evening activities to accommodate her routine. Most people just threw the notes away, but she kept escalating. 3 months ago, she actually called the police about a couple having a quiet conversation on their front porch at 9:15. The officers came out, talked to both parties, and basically told her that people were allowed to talk quietly on their own property. But last Tuesday night was when she completely lost her mind. I had just finished watching a movie and was getting ready for bed around 11:30 when I heard this incredible racket outside. I looked out my window and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Karen was standing in the middle of the street wearing a bathrobe and slippers, holding 2 large pots and banging them together as loud as she could. "Karen, attention everyone. I need everyone to come outside right now." Porch lights started coming on as neighbors peered out their windows and doors. The noise was unbelievable. She was hitting those pots together like she was trying to wake the entire city. I threw on some clothes and went outside, along with about half a dozen other neighbors. "Me, what are you doing? It's almost midnight." "Karen, I'm calling a mandatory neighborhood meeting. We need to discuss synchronizing everyone's sleep schedules." She continued banging the pots while she talked, which made the whole scene even more surreal. "Karen, I've been tracking everyone's bedtimes and wake-up times for the past month. Most of you are completely out of sync with optimal sleep patterns." Our neighbor from across the street, a guy who works early morning shifts at the hospital, looked exhausted. "Hospital worker, I have to be at work at 6 in the morning. I need to sleep." "Karen, that's exactly my point. If everyone went to bed at 9 and woke up at 4:30 like me, the whole neighborhood would be more productive and there would be no noise conflicts." She had actually prepared a written proposal outlining mandatory quiet hours, suggested bedtimes for each household based on what she observed about our routines, and a schedule for acceptable noise windows throughout the day. "Karen, I'm proposing that everyone on this street commit to the same sleep schedule. 9 p.m. to 4:30 a.m., no exceptions." A woman with a newborn baby started laughing, which set Karen off even more. "New mom, you want me to force my 3-month-old baby to follow your sleep schedule?" "Karen, babies need to learn proper sleep habits early. If you trained your child correctly, it would sleep when it's supposed to." That comment really upset several neighbors. People started arguing with her about the ridiculousness of demanding everyone follow her personal schedule. "Karen, I'm a light sleeper and I contribute to this community. My needs should be respected." She kept banging the pots whenever anyone tried to interrupt her, which was waking up kids and pets throughout the neighborhood. Someone called the police again, and they arrived to find Karen still in the middle of the street with her pots, now reading from a prepared speech about neighborhood sleep coordination. "Officer, ma'am, you can't bang pots in the street at midnight and wake up the whole neighborhood." "Karen, I'm trying to solve the neighborhood's sleep problem. Everyone needs to get on the same schedule." The officer looked around at all of us gathered in the street in our pajamas and seemed to grasp the situation pretty quickly. "Officer, ma'am, people are allowed to choose their own bedtimes. You can't force your neighbors to follow your schedule." She tried explaining her theory about synchronized neighborhood sleep cycles improving property values and community cohesion, but the officer wasn't interested in her research. They arrested her for disturbing the peace and confiscated her pots as evidence. As they put her in the patrol car, she was still shouting instructions about optimal sleep schedules. The next morning, I found a typed letter in my mailbox from her, apparently written before her midnight pot banging incident. It was a detailed plan for implementing neighborhood-wide sleep synchronization, complete with charts and graphs showing productivity benefits. She posted bail the next day, but the homeowners association got involved after several neighbors filed complaints. Turns out there are actually rules about disturbing neighbors and creating public nuisances. The best part is that she tried appealing to the city council, claiming that synchronized neighborhood sleep schedules should be mandatory for public health reasons. She even brought printed studies about circadian rhythms and community wellness. The city council members listened politely to her presentation, then explained that people have the right to choose their own sleep schedules within reason. She moved out 2 weeks later, leaving behind a note in everyone's mailbox saying we were all too disorganized to appreciate proper sleep hygiene. The street has been much quieter since she left. Story 5. I've been a police officer for 12 years now. I started right out of college because I wanted to serve my community and help people. Most days, the job is pretty routine traffic stops, responding to domestic disputes, writing reports, but every once in a while, you get a call that makes you wonder what's wrong with people. I was working patrol on a Tuesday afternoon when dispatch sent me to the downtown shopping district. Someone had reported a disturbance near the parking meters. When I pulled up on my motorcycle, I could see a small crowd of people gathered around something, but I couldn't tell what was happening. I parked my bike near the sidewalk and walked over to see what was going on. That's when I saw her, a woman in her 50s, wearing a bright pink tracksuit, sitting on top of my motorcycle like it was a park bench. She had shopping bags scattered around the ground and was holding her phone, apparently taking selfies. "Me, ma'am, you need to get off my motorcycle right now." "Karen, oh perfect, you're finally here. I've been waiting for like 10 minutes. "Me? Waiting for what? And why are you sitting on my bike?" "Karen, I need you to drive me to Target. My car broke down, and I have very important shopping to do." I looked around for a broken-down car but didn't see one. Just her sitting on my motorcycle like she owned the place. "Me, ma'am, police motorcycles aren't taxis. You need to get off immediately." "Karen, I pay your salary with my tax dollars. The least you can do is give me a ride to Target." A small crowd had gathered to watch this whole situation unfold. Some people were recording with their phones, and I could hear a few of them laughing. "Me, that's not how this works. Police officers don't provide transportation to stores. You need to call a taxi or rideshare service." "Karen, I don't use those apps. They're too confusing. Besides, you're going to patrol anyway, right? Just patrol over to Target." She adjusted herself on my bike like she was getting more comfortable. I couldn't believe this was actually happening. "Me, ma'am, you're interfering with police equipment. If you don't get off my motorcycle, I'm going to have to arrest you." "Karen, arrest me? For what? I'm not doing anything illegal." "Me? Yes, you are. You're sitting on police property without permission, and you're preventing me from doing my job." "Karen, your job is to serve and protect. Well, serve me by driving me to Target." A woman in the crowd spoke up. Bystander, lady, just get an Uber like everyone else. Karen, mind your own business. This officer and I are having a conversation. Me, this isn't a conversation. This is me telling you to get off my motorcycle before I arrest you. Karen, I'm not getting off until you agree to take me to Target. I have a very important return to make, and the customer service desk closes at 6. I looked at my watch. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. Me, you have plenty of time to arrange your own transportation. Karen, but you're right here. It would take like 5 minutes. Come on, be a pal. She actually patted the seat behind her like she was inviting me to hop on my own motorcycle. Karen, I'll even let you use the siren. It'll be fun. Me, that's it. You're under arrest. I reached for my handcuffs, but she wrapped her arms around my handlebars like she was hugging them. Karen, no, you can't arrest me. I'm a taxpayer. I vote. Me? Voting doesn't give you the right to commandeer police vehicles. A man in the crowd yelled out encouragement. Man in crowd, just drag her off there, officer. Karen, don't you dare touch me. This is police brutality. Me, ma'am, nobody has touched you. But if you don't get off my bike voluntarily, I'm going to have to physically remove you. Karen, fine. But I want it on record that you're refusing to help a citizen in need. She finally started to get up, but then sat back down again. Karen, wait. What if I just need a ride to the hospital? Would you take me then? Me, are you having a medical emergency? Karen, well, no, but what if I was? Me, you're not, so get off the bike. Karen, this is discrimination. You probably give rides to all the young, pretty girls. Me, I don't give rides to anyone unless they're under arrest or having a medical emergency. She sat there for another few seconds, clearly trying to think of some other excuse. The crowd was getting bigger, and more people were filming. Karen, okay, fine, but I'm filing a complaint. Your badge number is going straight to your supervisor. She finally got off my motorcycle, gathered up her shopping bags, and started walking away. But she wasn't done yet. Karen, this is why people don't respect police anymore. You won't even help a tax-paying citizen get to Target. As she walked away, she kept looking back and shaking her head dramatically. The crowd started dispersing, and a few people came up to me. Bystander 2. Officer, I got the whole thing on video if you need it for your report. Me, thanks, I might need that. I got back on my motorcycle and called dispatch to report the incident. My supervisor asked me to swing by the station to write it up properly. Later that day, my partner told me that the woman had actually called the station to file a complaint against me. She claimed I was rude and unhelpful for refusing to drive her to Target. My supervisor read her complaint and just shook his head. Supervisor, in 25 years, I've never had someone complain that an officer wouldn't provide taxi service. The complaint was dismissed, obviously, but the video from that bystander ended up going viral on social media. People were sharing it with captions like, "When you think police are Uber," and "Karen discovers police aren't personal chauffeurs." I still patrol that same area, and I haven't seen her since. But I always make sure to park my motorcycle where I can keep an eye on it, just in case.